The question I get the most still to this day is about how much properties really should cost versus how much they do cost. And what I want to go through today is a few examples of what different types of properties here in Ocean City sold for in 2019, 2022, and now here in 2024. So we can all see exactly what has changed, how much those prices have changed, and where the opportunities might be. But before I dive in, I want to lay some groundwork here. So, just for context, some people have different anchor points than others. So, for example, if you haven't looked for a home here in Ocean City since 2017, you're going to think everything is completely overpriced. It's going to be hard for you to wrap your head around where things actually are, enough to see that it is actually worth close to what somebody may be asking for their home. Whereas if you're just entering into this market for the first time, you don't have those past data points, I'll say, dragging you down. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not. So I broke this down again into 3 different years, but also looking at 3 bedroom units on West and Asbury Avenue and 4 bedroom units looking at Asbury and Central Avenue. Those are typically the most common single families. There are too many different neighborhoods, different price points that analysis doesn't really hold too much water unless we go super micro level. But the 3 and the 4 bedrooms are the bread and butter for most people here in Ocean City, whether they're starting out or looking to move from a 2 to a 3 or a 2 to a 4 or a 3 to a 4. So let's dive right in. So this handy dandy spreadsheet in my proprietary data source here that I house in Google Sheets helps me to fully dig in and to understand exactly what's happening. So the first little section here, we're not really going to spend any time on, but these other 2 parts we are going to talk through in detail. So first things first, right? If we're looking at a 3 bedroom on West Avenue in a duplex, back in 2019, you're looking at $471,000 on average. That's all closed sales that happened that year. And again, that is not taking into account the south end versus the north end or anything in between. This is all of the sales on the island on West Avenue. So that compared to a 3 bedroom on Asbury was an 11% increase, right? A difference if you're going to move one street closer to the beach. Now, if we look at the 4 bedrooms between Asbury and Central, it's the same 11% increase, but you could see here the $760,000 purchase back then jumped substantially in the next 2 years. So this order of operations, right, makes sense that it would be incrementally more expensive the closer you get to the beach and the more bedrooms that there are. So now let's look from 2019 to 2022. So we've jumped all the way from 471,000 to 750,000 on average. And that's 2 years ago, right? Everything that happened in 2022 is baked into this number. That is a 59% increase, which if we then take that for Asbury, both a 3 and a 4 bedroom and a 4 bedroom on Central, we're all in the ballpark of between 55 and 65% of an increase. That's substantial, right? So the market clearly changed remarkably over those 3 years. But the fun part is really now going to 2024 because again, I will see homes hit the market and I still have these anchor points after looking at all this data for over 5 years now. I still find myself thinking that a 3 bedroom on West has no business being in the 900,000s. And while the average here in 2024 is 856,000, there are still plenty that have sold in the 900s. It's unusual. Most are in the 800s or less, but the days of thinking that you can get these in the 600s, for example, are gone. You'll see the odd one that is a complete gut that has not been upgraded or touched right in 40 years and probably has some problems. But we're talking 1 or 2 a year, maybe. So just to help you level set, if you're looking for a 3 bedroom home in Ocean City, you're likely to be best case scenario in the 700s. Again, there are some odd ducks here and there, so it's worth the conversation if that really is your budget limitation. But from an expectation standpoint, you should be expecting to pay in the 800s for the average home on West Avenue. Now, yes, right, there are Simpson Avenue, there are Haven Avenue that may be a little bit more affordable, but it all depends. But these, again, are kind of the bread and butter here. Most people don't want to be that far from the beach if you go back to Simpson and Haven. But again, from a level setting standpoint, if your budget is less than 800,000, less than 850,000, that's really what you are most likely to be able to find, would be a less expensive duplex further from the beach. So we look here again at the 3 bedroom on West and the 3 bedrooms on Asbury. from the previous year both increased about 14%, pretty remarkably consistent there. So these three-bedroom Asbury units, right, we're seeing plenty of them going for over 1 million. That is now not every single one, as you can see here by the averages, but it is normal for that to be the case. The average is now pushing $1 million, whether we like it or not. Um, the four bedrooms is where it definitely gets a little bit interesting. And I dove a little bit deeper so that I could bring you the context here. And the reason I run these analyses are so that we can find the outlying metrics here, right? We see consistency across the board here in 2022, the increases from 2019 for the most part, right? It's not exact, but it's understandably close. 2024, we then end up with these two outliers with these four-bedroom pockets. So the four bedrooms on Asbury, a little bit of that is them being brought down by some older and much smaller homes in downtown Asbury, specifically on 7th Street, um, that sold for in the 500s and 600s, right? That's going to drag this number way down, but that's not all of them. That's a couple outliers. It's not enough to really be that much of an anchor, right? To drag us down from that 14%, right? We'll call it 10% increase that we should have expected here. What really has happened, there are some high-end Asbury homes that just haven't sold that are four bedrooms. There also haven't been a ton of four bedrooms on Asbury that have sold, right? They tend to be older. Um, and when you're really looking at a three bedroom for, we're talking about $200,000 to $300,000 less, at least. That's pretty appealing depending on people's needs. So it seems that this Asbury pocket could have some opportunities if you're looking for a four-bedroom home. Now, if we want to sanity check that, and we'll do it live here, right? This is not being re-recorded or anything. We're going to look just to see what our options are out here for four bedrooms on Asbury Avenue. And this, which you will not have access to unless you are a realtor here in the area, is our local MLS. This is how we find properties. There's four. There are four properties out there. And look at that, right? The first two to three are right in that ballpark, right? Of that 1.1 to 1.2 range that we saw the average for 2024. And then we have our outlier here, which certainly seems to be an outlier and not in a positive way. It appears that it may be on a larger lot that I can't confirm here, but it was built in 1993. That seems like it could be one that is overpriced. I haven't been through that home. I can't say with full confidence, but that's what my gut tells me compared to our other options here. Right, and this one being a block away. Yes, it is a first floor. This one, I think I've spoken about at length. I think there's an opportunity here. Should the sellers be willing to take something closer to 1.1, I think this would be a great buy. It does need a paint job and some other things inside, but nothing crazy. And then we have a new construction here in downtown Asbury. And that to me seems like a bit of a steal as long as you're comfortable and interested in being in that part of town. But certainly back here. So again, four bedrooms on Asbury seem to potentially be an opportunity if you're looking for a good value. There just aren't many on the market right now. Now, these four bedrooms on Central, the reason that this is so significant is twofold. Number one, this incorporates some beachfront properties, depending on the part of the island. So we would expect that should see a higher potentially percent increase, but not quite this much. So the other part that's really impacting this is there were a good amount of new construction homes in 2024 on Central Avenue that closed. So that wasn't necessarily the case on the three bedrooms on Weston Asbury and the four bedrooms on Asbury as well. So we can explain away some of this deviation, but I think it highlights a couple things. Number one, there has generally been consistent growth across different mini markets, right? Niche markets here in Ocean City. So I do get the question sometimes, right? What's the highest appreciation area or type of property? And it's an analysis that I've tried. And the answer that I got from that analysis is I don't have enough data to really point to that with confidence. There's just not enough sales volume of similar types of properties built at a certain time, upgraded in a certain way to say with full confidence. So doing a more broad analysis like this paints the picture that, you know what, there was pretty consistent appreciation across the board from 2019 to 2022, at least in these four sectors. But if we were to look up above at some of the other numbers, it would come out pretty consistent as well. And then we have the change here is normalizing, but at a lower level for sure. I hope this helped you answer and re-level set really what properties are going for these days, what you may have to spend to get what you want. And if nothing else, again, it will help you come into this with open eyes and understanding that your budget does not allow you to get what you want, but are there still options that do fit your budget? And that's what I kind of specialize in, is getting a sense for what people are looking for. And I know the market well enough to point you in the right direction and give you some options. That's key. In a market with low inventory, it's hard to find options. So if we are open-minded, we can certainly find some potential options that could be a fit. I had a client come down first time last week looking for a certain thing, but after talking to them before they came down, I had an idea of something that was totally out of the box for them compared to what they told me that they were really looking for. They fell in love with it, and we are now under contract. So this is what I do. It's what I love to do. If I can help you in any way, feel free to reach out down below, any of the ways you see fit in the description. And if you found this helpful, do me a favor and hit the like button and make sure to subscribe. More good content coming your way all about Ocean City and the real estate market here. Thanks for hanging out as always, and I will see you next time.